Are you coming back to school with me? We could have done it all so easily.
Hi, my name is Craig Thompson Wood. I'm your host on Teaching with Board Games, here today to do a look at Prime Climb by Math for Love. Now this video is actually the second time I'm looking at Prime Climb. That's because the first time I did the video for Prime Climb, I said I gave all these references to the things that happen within the game, how the arithmetic is used within the game, made references to the board, and I said I would show it, but I never did. So I never had the video where I showed how the game is played or the components or anything like that. So to make up for that now, I said that this month I would be looking again at the game, showing it, the components and everything, doing it more properly this time. So my apologies for the last one, but here's Prime Climb. So when looking at the report card for Prime Climb, I'm going to give the number of players a B. It plays between 2 to 4 players, and that is my standard for a B, so it gets the B. For learning for Prime Climb, I'm going to give it an A+. The game is, what it does like really well, and it's a game that I have seen other teachers at my school using in things like board game clubs, and a specific board game club of Prime Climb Club, just because it is so good at what it does and the way it teaches. And again, this is what I'm going to show you when I take it to the table and show you how it's played. I will show you how it works, but there's also references on the Math for Love website on how to use the board and the components of the board, the parts of the board. I'm being very vague right now, but it'll make more sense when you see it. But they show you how to use it and how to lead the students to the understanding of it. Well, I guess it kind of shows a bit here. These are some of the components on the board. How do you use those colors to teach the arithmetic that's taught within the game? But the way it does it is really great. There's a lot of just really good opportunities for learning in here, because it's just the way that you play with the numbers and see what you can do with them to see what your best choices are. So it's not like almost like a flashcard where you roll a dice and you just add this. No, you can do all kinds of different things with addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and so playing with the numbers and seeing which gets you to the best point in the game is part of it. So that's what I really love about it, because it's encouraging all these different ways of thinking, encouraging, so within the strategy of the game you can play with the numbers, but then it also has these aids within the game itself to help you in that learning. So really beautiful, wonderfully done. So A+. For fun, I'm going to give the game a B+. It's a good game. I mean, the students, when I've had students playing it, they sometimes say to me, oh, well, this is just math. I said, yeah, it's math, and it's very obviously a math game, but would you rather be doing this, or would you rather be doing something like a textbook or a worksheet? Oh, no, we'd rather do this. Yeah, of course you would, because this game is actually, it can be fun. Now, when I looked at it at first, I was really concerned because it has two mechanisms in the game that I'm really not a fan of. The first is roll and move, where you roll a dice and you move your piece, and the game is a race where you're trying to race to the center, which is the 101st spot on the board. So roll and move is not my favorite mechanism, but the thing is with this is the rolling, you're rolling 2 decahedrons, which are 10-sided dice, and with those dice you can add, subtract, multiply, or divide the numbers on the dice. So if you're at space 4 and you roll an 8, you can say 4 times my 8 puts me to space 32. So there is that. I mean, so the movement is a lot faster, which is also important, because my second thing that was in it that I'm not a big fan of is the whole I bump you and send you back to start mechanism, which again is just like, if you get so high up and then you have space 100, you just need to roll a 1 to get to that next thing, and then somebody bumps you back. It's just like, ugh. But again, if you roll 2 10s, well, you can go 10 times 10 is 100, and you're all the way back up again. So it's not like you're ever that far, or that in that much trouble that you can't recover from it. It's not like getting sent back to the beginning is a huge deal. It's just inconvenient at best. So I like those two things aside. I mean, the game, when I played it with the students, we played it many times. They always really enjoy it. And I said one of the other teachers at the school had a Prime Climb Club going, where students would be staying in at recesses and playing specifically Prime Climb just for the opportunities to build those arithmetic facts, and they loved it. So yeah, overall I think it's a great game, B+. For time, I'm going to give the game a B. The game plays between, say, 20 to 60 minutes, so I think the 60 minutes would be if you're playing with 4 players, and even that sounds like a little bit long. So if this is the kind of game you're going to be playing as a center in class, then probably not something that they're going to be rotating through. If you're playing in maybe during a recess or something, depending on how much time that you have, you may want to limit the number of players just to make sure you're finishing in time. If you're playing at home, then as long as you're not under some sort of time constraints, then it's all good. So it's not, and the setup is very easy. It's the board. It's every player has 2 pieces, and you've got the 2 10-sided dice. So overall, it's going easy to set up, easy to clean up, and not going to be too long to play, which is going to depend a lot based on the number of players in the game. For cost, I'm going to give the game an A. The game sells at Level Up Games for only $29.95, which I think for a game like this size, with this kind of quality, with this much thought and attention put into the game, is a real deal. Part of a consideration too, always for any kind of game or anything, is the replayability. I mean, even if you're spending like $10 on a game, if you only play it once, then it's kind of not worth it. But so this one at $30, if you only play it once, is it worth that $30? But it's not going to be the kind of game that I think you're going to play just once. Particularly if you're a parent buying this for your children for the purposes that it's intended for, which is to improve the math facts, then it can be a game that you're encouraging them to play. If you're a teacher, then certainly there's opportunities to implement this into the classroom quite easily, whether it is, like I said, as in a math center, or whether you are doing it as my other colleague had done as a part of a math Prime Climb club, then there's easy ways to implement this game, and you're certainly going to be getting your use out of it in the teaching field. And at home, again, it has to be the kind of thing that maybe the kids aren't going to use this as a first choice of something they want to play, but if you encourage your children to play this kind of thing, then this would certainly be one that would hit the table enough that you would definitely get your money's worth for it. And as I said, I think $30 anyway is a great price point for a game of this quality, so definitely gets the A. All right, let me take it to the table, and I'll actually, for real, show you how it's played. So this is the setup for the game of Prime Climb. Like I said, it's just the board, you have some cards here, your dice, and every player is going to have 2 pawns. In order to win the game, the players are going to have to go around and around and around until they reach both of their pawns to the 101 space. But as you see, all of the spaces have all these different colors and things, and that's where this true brilliance comes in. I mean, they have a little reference card here for you as well to help you to find things on there, to maybe sort of note different colors and things. But as I say, Math for Love has a whole lesson plan around this to help the students to come to their own discovery of that and how this works. So if you want to figure this one out on your own, then maybe skip ahead a few seconds here, because I'm about to give a spoiler. When you look at the colors on here, you'll see that 1 is just gray, but then 2 is all orange, 3 is all green, but then 4 is 2 oranges, 5 is blue, 6 is orange and green. Well, that's because when you take the number, if you multiply the number, so 2 times 2, so 2 2s are 4. 2 orange times 3 green is 6. 7 is its own number. 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. 10 is 2 times 5. And so on. Where you get to the red numbers, those are the numbers which are prime. So prime numbers, I guess with the exception of 7 here, 7 would also be prime, but when you get past 10, and the prime numbers after that are going to be into the red circle. So those are helping students to identify the prime numbers. And so where you have here that you can multiply the prime of 13 with blue 7, so 13 times 7 is 9. So you start to see too, not only is the multiplication, but when you're doing division. So if I'm on 91 and I divide by 7, I know I get to 13. If I'm at space 80 and I divide by 5, then it's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4, 8, 16. So 16 times 5 is 80. So that's how you're going to be using the board to help you to maneuver around things. So you're going to, every turn, somebody's going to roll 2 dice here. We'll just start off with blue, and they can go 4 and 7. So they could go, they do each dice once. Now what they might choose to do here as a strategy is, they can go 4 and then multiply that by 7 to go 28. And that would be their largest number they could make. But they may choose to actually go 4, and then 4 plus 7 is 11, because that's going to get them to a prime number here. And when you get to those prime number spaces, then you're taking one of these cards, and the cards then tell you what you can do to have some in-game effects. So in this one, you're stealing another player's keeper card. Well, this is the first roll of the game, so unfortunately this is no good for that player because there is no other cards. So the next player goes, so now we go on to green. So green rolls a 9 and a 1. So not very helpful, but what they can do, maybe they can put both pieces on the board like so. Now they have both pieces on. Blue player goes, and they roll a 5 and a 4. So 5 and a 4, they can add, and they can then bump that player back to the start. So this player rolls a 4 and a 1. So they can say add 1 is 4, add 1 is 2 rather, and then 2 times 4 is 8. So you see how it's not just straight addition, they can also add to make the numbers go. So now 8 times 5, so 11 times 8 would be 88. So you can think too, well, 8 is 3 orange. So you're looking for 3 orange and a red. So they can just sort of look around, the students can look around, and then they find 88. I mean, 11 times 8 is pretty an easy one. And then maybe they can add 5 and go up to 93. Okay, then the green player goes again, and they do 6 and 3. So 8 times 6 is 48. Now they can't do times 3 because that's going to be more than 101, so maybe they move the other one to 3 here, and so on. So the different prime climb cards, when you get to them, so some are going to say keeper, and the keeper cards then tell you where you can add or subtract by. And it's only add or subtract in these cases, so maybe give you that little bit of a boost into a thing. So any of the keeper cards are going to be like that. And there's even opportunities to write your own cards. So if you have an idea for something you might like to write on there, you can always, or maybe if you've lost one card, you can always write one there, create your own. But both players keep racing around until they reach the 101. 101, notice, is a prime, so they're going to get a prime for that. They can then move off, and then when both pawns from one player reach the 101 space, they are declared the winner. And that is how you play Prime Climb. Math for Love has a real masterpiece on their hands here in terms of everything that's gone into the thought and attention of the game. As you saw with the playthrough, the use of the colors and things is absolutely brilliant. And in playing with my students, we would do things like when they're dividing or multiplying, they would start to use those and start to see and make those kinds of connections to the numbers. And if you go to the Math for Love website, I would strongly encourage you to, not only for the sort of lesson plans that they have to implement and get the students to develop their own understanding of how these work. Now, you don't just tell them how it works, that they develop that understanding as they start to explore it. But there's also other lesson plans and things that you could be doing with these circles with the colors and things. There's a lot of other resources out there. So as I said, Math for Love just didn't stop here with this. They put it even further with other resources and stuff. So I would really strongly recommend looking at that as an additional resource for your education and learning resources. So if you're new to the channel, then what I'm doing is I'm putting out content on a weekly basis around topics of gamification, game-based learning, reviewing board games, reviewing publishers, reviewing books, anything to do with these topics of gamification, game-based learning, and how we can improve our pedagogy through the use of games. If this sounds good to you, then please do remember to hit like and subscribe down below, even the little bell to indicate when I put out some new content. And if you have any other ideas for things you might like to see on the channel, any games you might like to see reviewed, any publishers you know of that would be worthy of being looked at and sort of explored in terms of the educational games that they have available, or even any books that you know of, or just questions on how to implement games into the classroom and such, then please feel free to leave those messages in the comment section below. I do love to hear from the viewers, as it really helps to drive my channel to make sure I'm putting out content which is relevant to you and something that you actually want to hear. And that is going to wrap it up for today's episode. Until next time, I am Craig Thompson-Wood, your host on Teaching with Board Games, saying thanks for coming to the classroom.
Are you coming back to school with me?